Friday. It is one of the days that I can't wait to get to. Yes, being the 28th of August 2020, we are counting down just a few days to the end of this month, and we're also counting down just a few days to the end of this year. This year began with lots of expectations, but now many of us have not lived to achieve whatever we did expect come 2020. Meanwhile, welcome to the show. I'm talking about the first show that starts your day 5 days a week. That is from Monday to Friday, from 6:30 to about 9 a.m., where we exit for Kaziwe Bashir to come in with the sharp talk as well as face-to-face, and we talk about quite a number of things that happened during the day and those that made rounds of headlines the previous day. My name is Simon Chris Makanga, and I'm not alone either.
Hello. How is everybody doing? My name is Latifah Hamid, and I'd like to officially welcome you to the first show, the show that makes your day and starts every morning from Monday to Friday morning to 9. I would like to welcome you and say it's a pleasure to have you on the show on a Friday like this, where we will be winding up the week and going into the weekend. We'll have a lot happening today on the set with a surprise guest. Actually, we have two surprise guests. We've been talking about them, and they will be on the show today. For the Muslims who are getting ready for a Friday, remember that you're not supposed to go to the mosque to pray. Baki nyumbani, swalia nyumbani, oga, get ready, put on white just like I've done with the skirt, and then get ready for Friday. You know Friday is a blessed day for all us Muslims, and use it to take you to where you want to go. I'd like to tell Angie, our former entertainment perspective on the first show, a very happy birthday, and hope she lives to blow 1,000,000 candles. Good morning, Simon Chris Makanga.
Good morning,
how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm not complaining either. Actually, I'm super excited. Amidst the pandemic, amidst all the challenges that are happening in the world and Uganda in particular, I choose to celebrate and choose to say, I'm happy. Okay, when is your birthday, actually? My birthday is just a few days away. It's the 2nd of September. It's going to be a Wednesday. Oh, I think I've told you in advance so that you can...
You're getting older, Simon Chris Makanga. Hopefully, we'll have a cake on set to celebrate your birthday.
I do expect something special from you.
Set, you know, like right here, and then we cut it and invite the viewers in wishing you a happy birthday.
Definitely.
You know, as you're getting ready for yours, mine is in October. So as you're expecting a gift from me, know that I'm going to get you an expensive gift so that you do a payback in October.
Let's do like this. We do a tit-to-tat.
Of course.
You do me good, I do you better.
But of course. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's always wonderful to be part of the team in wishing you guys a happy birthday. So if you have a birthday that you're celebrating, all you have to do is send it to our Facebook page, Instagram, or Twitter. That's STV Uganda officially, and then we'll be wishing you a happy birthday on this platform. Simon Chris has a voice, so he will be doing the singing, and I'll be doing the backup and clapping.
And I want to say happy birthday to Kemi Angie. I'm pretty sure that she's watching the show. Happy birthday to you, Kemi Angie, and may you live longer to enjoy the benefits of Ugandan oil. May you live longer to enjoy Kampala flyover, because many people may not live to enjoy the Kampala flyover.
But the Kampala flyover may come sooner than we expect, because remember that we thought the northern bypass would not happen. All of us, when they said they were building it, we were like, Tegenda, it's not going to happen. We don't think it's going to happen. But officially it has happened. We saw it happening. We've used it, and then the Ginger Bridge as well. So congratulations to the running government, and we know that this thing, we hope that this thing will happen before we have kids and grandkids. I know.
Now, and I can't leave to enjoy the benefits of Ugandan oil, because we know to come with lots of good things, good roads, good schools, good hospitals, everything, because by then we shall have more money coming into the country. This
is where parents are now going to push their kids to study oil, the oil industry, because see, one thing about the education system in Uganda and how parents decide what you ought to study is that at that particular time, when a certain career is booming, that is when they decide you should do a certain course. Remember when we
victim of that, by the way.
You told us the story on set.
Yes.
Remember that there's a time HIV/AIDS was on the rise and medical doctors were needed all over the world. Now every student who could do a little bit of sciences was pushed into studying medicine. Now my sister was also pushed into studying sciences.
Did she make it?
No, she did not. She had love for something else. You knew what?
I knew she
we have
couldn't
smart
make it.
people in the family.
There would be doctors, there would be nurses.
But we do have a doctor
most
in the
most
family,
of you and media.
you know that.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. For those of you that have just joined us, it is the first show. And for now, neyogero kwaniriza ababaka twegatako ku lunaku lwa kutaano olunaku olusembayo mu wiiki era nga nyongera okubajjukiza nti olina okukola ennyo n'amaanyi. Olwaliro 28 omwezi ogw'omunaana olunaku lwa kutaano. Believe you me, oba oyagala oba toyagala, luno olunaku telujja kuddamu. Toliddamu duwulira from anywhere on this planet Earth. Bwe tubaga tukyagoberera kalenda ya Gregory, luno olunaku telukyaddamu. Kitegeeza kola nnyo, buli kyokola kikole n'amaanyi n'obwagazi era nga manya nti kola ng'amanyi nti ogenda kuvaawo enkya so that good things can come your way. Meanwhile, being a Friday, there are quite a number of stories that have made rounds of headlines this week, and we were expecting the President of Uganda to address the nation on Tuesday because we know cabinet usually sits on a Monday. So we expected that maybe the President of Uganda would address the nation like he had promised the previous week. Nti yali ajja kuba ayogerako eri eggwanga ku nsonga z'okulwanyisa ekirwadde kya COVID-19. Wabula tetwamulaba. Wabula ate olunaku olw'eggulo yavuddeyo n'atangaaza eggwanga nga akozesa article 2 clause 2 mu constitution ya Uganda n'asetingawo olunaku lwa 29 olunaku olw'enkya okubeera ng'ejja kuba public holiday ng'agamba lunaku lwa kusabira eri eggwanga lwe lunaku mwe tugenda okuwonga ensi yattu Uganda okubanga tudda eri Mungu. Tomanya ebintu bingi bisobola okukyuka. Latifah, Hamid.
Now on his social media platform, the President of the Republic of Uganda said, quote, he said that a certain Ugandan approached him and told him to go the Magufuli approach or Magufuli style and declare this particular day a National Prayer Day on the 29th. Now, what made me smile a little bit is that this Ugandan said they got a revelation from God that told them that the president had to do that. And then he came out and said, you know, we discussed with this particular Ugandan whom he did not mention, and we declared 29th of August a national prayer
every
day.
year
and
it will be
every
celebrated.
Year, it's going to be one of those days that we sit at home and don't go to work. So for those you guys, you know, I like Fridays. Fridays come with good news. So from now on, I know that even when I'm in school, on 29th of August, I'm going to be at home. And even when I'm doing my job, on 29th of August, I'm going to break off. Is that
as
how it
a
works
journalist?
as well?
No, you're not supposed
I know.
to. Meanwhile, Latifah, I think this was long overdue. I was trying to think about it. And many years ago, I used to bring an idea on table that how about we grant, we select about 2 to 3 days, or at least a day, and all Ugandans go for a recess. And we all grant our country before the hands of God. So I feel like my wish has been answered. It was my wish that I thought about it many years ago. And I can also relate this, that our four founders granted this nation before the hands of God. I believe and trust that by the time they came up with the motto, for God and my country, that whoever came up with that must have had the Spirit of God on him. Whoever, George William Kakoma, the person who came up with the Uganda national anthem, it started with, "O Uganda, may God uphold thee." That means there is nothing we can do as Ugandans if we don't put God first. And I was super excited to see the president of Uganda coming up with that suggestion, all accepting the gentleman's idea that we should declare a day and all of us bow before God and maybe grant this nation before the hands of God.
As
maybe things could change.
Well, as we're looking at what is happening in the nation and the COVID-19 situation that has taken place in the nation, and the fact that we all expected the president to come up and talk about the measures that they're going to take, and a lot of people thought that he was going to come up and talk about a lockdown. We are seeing that the lockdown may not happen, because as the president comes up and says, I am declaring 29th of August a national prayer day, he's looking at taking another form to at least deal with the COVID-19 situation. Now, see, when the president came up to speak the last time, he was very bitter and very angry at a lot of Ugandans. And he said that Ugandans are being complacent with the SOPs that have been put in place. People are not putting on masks. The sanitizers are no longer there. Hand-washing facilities are no longer as serious as they used to be. Now, Ugandans know when the president becomes angry, given that he's the father of this nation, he can make decisions that even the Ministry of Health cannot take back, because the Ministry of Health could say there's no COVID, there's no lockdown, because that is what Jen Ruth Acheng came out and said. She said that we are not going to put the country under lockdown. However, we ask you to follow the SOPs that have been put in place. Now, that is where we are saying that for the president to come up and say, I'm creating a national prayer day and not launching, you know, a lockdown because he could have communicated, we think there will be no lockdown. And
the new army spokesperson, Flash also came up with a statement yesterday that got me thinking in regards to COVID-19. Uganda balemeddwa okuteeka SOPs ezaateekebwawo ekitongole ky'ebyobulamu mu nkola. Bannayuganda baganya okwambala masks, bannayuganda baganya okunaaba engalo, baganya okugoberera buli kimu ekyateekebwa minisitule y'ebyobulamu. N'agamba nti bwe tuba nga buli kimu kiganya, kyekiseera bagenda kubeera nga bawalizibwa okukomyawo aba LDUs ku nguudo. Latifah, kyandeetedde okulowooza nti did they intentionally do that to bring the LDUs to execute whatever they executed, and that led to the torture, to the brutality that was subjected to Ugandans? It got me thinking otherwise, because it was some kind of a threat that if you have failed to put the SOPs into action, she said they'll be prompted to bring back the LDUs on the streets.
Well, at the end of the day, whether the LDUs come back or not, I have said this again and I will always repeat it regardless of what people say, because at the end of the day, when they say do not take a motorcycle with 2 people on board, try your best to follow those instructions. Now, we have had a strict instruction from the president that right now they're going to have strict measures. He wrote to the police and army and said it's time for you to enforce the measures tighter than they used to be. We don't want a lockdown, but make sure you do. Now, aside from that, the NRM, on 4th, the NRM, that's next Friday, the NRM are going to hold party primaries to declare who the winners are going to be. Now, as they're declaring who the winners are going to be during the party primaries, the NRM party has said they are going to pay for airtime on radios and TV nationwide for all their primary winners, for people who are going to hold the NRM flag. Your airtime will be paid for on all radios and TV stations, and that means that you have a better competing stage or better competing place than the other parties. Now, Chris, what do you make of the fact that apart from President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, all the other winners of the primaries are going to have airtime paid for them?
It's not a big surprise to me. NRM has been in power for now 35 years. Three decades and a half. They have the money. We've had one of them come out to say that we have support of the Maje. So what makes you think that they do not have support of the money, or they do not have financial support? Okay.
Now, this puts in place, this puts the other opposition parties in a tricky place. We have NUP that is struggling to financially get money from different people and supporters. We have UPC, which is struggling, something we'll talk about a little bit later. We have DP, which is struggling, something we'll talk about. Now, we're looking at NRM having a platform where its members are not going to spend any shilling from their pocket to pay for the scientific campaigns that are going to be ongoing. Now, what we're asking for, or the question we're asking is, where does this put the different political parties in the scientific election race that is going to happen?
Whatever is happening and wherever they're getting the money from, it is not a big deal. It is the party in the governance of this country. And our only prayer is they don't use the Ugandan taxpayers' money. Let them use the money they've contributed, like what the president said, okumusalako 20% of his salary, 20% from the members of parliament that belong to the NRM party. He said the party, NRM party, is going to do business. He's going to engage in different businesses like real estate. So let them, maybe that's where they're going to get the money. It is okay for them to fund the fund for their members of parliament or all their candidates for as long as they don't use the taxpayers' money.
Okay, well, as we are moving on from that particular story, let's move a little bit to the UPC story where they have explained and they have said that UPC is not going to be part of the 2021 general elections. Let's look at the story and then we'll be back to discuss what that means for opposition.
Meanwhile, speaking about UPC and its party president, Honorable Jimmy Ekena, it's going to be the second time that they're not going to appear on the ballot paper. On 2016, they still pulled out the presidential race, and they rallied behind that is Honorable Amama Mbabas. And then this time round, we don't know whether they are going to rally behind any other presidential candidate or they're simply quitting out as they did in 2016. However, this reminds me of one of the subjects I learned, commerce. We learned something called opportunity cost, a second best alternative when choice is made. Honorable Jimmy Ekena said yesterday that he's going to maintain his MP seat, MP leader seat, rather than coming in as a presidential candidate. So according to me, it's so much important and it's good for the party, because when you look at their strength within the political environment, it doesn't make any good sense for them to come and compete with other political parties. And speaking about NRM, which has shown us that it is capable of ruling this country for other years, and also the new baby that has come on board. So let's first have a look at what Jimmy Ekena said, and then we'll be right back.
Now, what before we go there, now Jimmy Ekena was explaining that the reason why he's not going as a presidential candidate is he understands that he doesn't have a position to win that particular election. And he says the problem with opposition is they compete against each other. Now, instead of competing for themselves and competing against the NRM, they're competing against each other. He says in NRM, when they were passing the age limit, they did not make even a third of the members of parliament for them to turn over the decision. So he says for him to go as a member of parliament, it means that he has a sitting in the August House, and that means there'll be a lot more people in the August House to make decisions when things such as the age limit removal is actually going to happen. So that's his excuse, and I say it makes a bit of sense because UPC itself doesn't have a lot of support and a lot of money. It has 10
members of parliament in the August House.
There we go. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at them working for the opposition instead of against the opposition.
True. I think that's a smart move. And it takes me back to what I've been saying, that it's a good opportunity cost for them as a party to quit the presidential seat and maintain the parliamentary seat. Because when you look at Honorable Jimmy Ekena, he has more strength in the northern part of Uganda. So it's better he maintains that seat rather than coming as a presidential candidate. Meanwhile, let's go into our another story that made rounds of headlines, and that is the Democratic Party that hosted the European delegates that also visited them yesterday. We have seen them visit several political parties. At first, they visited NUP, and they spent about 2 hours in a closed-door meeting. Then they went to FDC, and then after that, they went to Anti, and yesterday, they went to Democratic Party. Let's first have a look at what exactly happened yesterday, and then we'll be right back.
Ng'ekibiina ekitaba amawanga ku lukalu lwa Bulaaya kiri ku mulimu ogw'okukyalirako ebibiina by'obufuzi ebyenjawulo, olwaleero kisibye ku kitabo kya DP nga bawaayamu ku nsonga ezikwatagana n'ebyokulonda. Okusinziira ku ssenkagale w'ekibiina kya DP, Honorable Leonard ategeeza nti abagenyi bano tebalina kibiina kyonna kibawagira, era ng'omulimu gwabwe gwa kulwanirira bannayuganda, nga kino bakikola nga bakolagana ne gavumenti yonna ebeera mu buyinza.
Batukakasizza nti bo nga baambasada tebeewunzize ku sayidi yonna. Bo bakiikirira amawanga gaabwe mu Uganda. Omulimo gwabwe kulaba nga bakolerera bannayuganda bonna era nga bakwatagana ne gavumenti yonna eriwo mu kaseera konna.
Mu nsonga ze boogeddeko mubaddemu okutumbula ebyenfuna nga bawagira ebikolebwa kuno ko n'ebizibu ebirala bingi ebiri mu kalulu akabindabinda nga bategeezezza nti ensonga nnyingi zikyali matankane.
Zibadde nga 5. Ensonga esooka ya byanfuna. Tulaba nga gaapu eri wakati w'abantu abalina n'abatalina nene nnyo ne baagala okumanya ffe nga DP biki bye tugenda okukola ne tubategeeza puroguramu zaffe ez'okutumbula embeera y'abalimi ku kalulu akajja. Akalulu akajja omwaka ogujja tulabamu ebizibu. Ogenda ku poliisi n'obabuulira ku lukuŋŋaana lwonna bagamba genda weebuuze ku kakiiko k'ebyokulonda. Ogenda akakiiko k'ebyokulonda bagamba genda weebuuze ku poliisi. Akazannyo ako twagala kakome. Electoral Commission erage nti yeri in charge era yetambuza program.
Honorable Batimawo era ategeezezza nti beemuganyizza ku byokwerinda eby'eggwanga lino ng'agambye nti wadde aba LDO basomeseddwa ku ddembe ly'omuntu era abantu bakyali beeraliikirivu. Ayongeddeko nti ebitongole ebikuumaddembe tebirina buyinza bwonna busalira muntu musango wabula ng'omulimu gwabwe gukoma mu kukwata bonna baba bamanyi amateeka.
Tetulina aba security nga si batendeke mu kukuuma eddembe ly'Abannayuganda. Aba LDU mbalabye emigo gye giwanvuye ate nga batugambye bava mu kusomesebwa human rights neera emigo bazeetisse. Oba bakusiba oba bakuwanika kalaba nga bakuwanika kalaba naye tesooka kuba muntu n'olyoka omukwata n'omutwala mu maaso ga kkooti. Ekyo bakikola mu bumenyi bw'amateeka.
Bano era bategeezezza nti mu nsonga endala ze baloopedde abakungu kyekyokubayisa ng'abatali bannayuganda nga buli kadde ebitongole bya gavumenti ebyokwerinda bibeera bibalondoola ng'ate n'ebitongole ebitali bya gavumenti gye bandiddukira nabyo bita gavumenti.
Buli we tutuula era kyekyo kigambiddwa abakulu bano buli we tutuula tubangeeko kebiikira wali omusege.
About was insecurity during the elections, and then he spoke about vote rigging. But however, what we're looking at today is the EU visiting the different opposition political parties that are in the country. What does this mean for the opposition political parties, and what does this mean for Uganda? Why are they visiting them? Why do you think so?
The European countries are one of our biggest donors in Uganda. I think they're second to the United States. And we do business, we do trade with them, and our internal affairs do matter to them. But our only prayer as Ugandans is not to sabotage, because we've seen them visit different political parties. We expect them to be as neutral as they could or as they can, because they've shared different ideas. Literally, they share all the manifestos. What do you expect? What are you going to do for the country in case you win? Those questions are usually asked, according to what Norbert Mao said. So we expect them to be as neutral as they can.
Now, the first time they visited Noop,
yes,
a lot of people speculated that they were giving money to Noop for the campaigns. But we didn't see that happen.
We didn't see that
come out. And then we see them moving to DP now, and we see them moving to other opposition, you know, and we're asking ourselves, are they trying to figure out what opposition government or what opposition party they're going to be funding for the 2000
we haven't seen them visit the ruling party.
No, they haven't.
We haven't. Maybe we expect them to do that, but until they do that, we cannot rule out whether they're only visiting the opposition or not. But just like I said, our internal affairs do matter to them, the fact that we are doing business with them. And maybe the funding bit of it can come later, like what DP President Honorable Norbert Mao said, that they need money to run the campaigns. So he was calling upon them to at least help them fund the campaigns.
Given that they have now a bigger competition, now that the NRM members are being paid for airtime.
Exactly, you know.
TVs.
Meanwhile, the Fight Show is going to be taking a very short break, and coming up is the long-awaited interview with Elijah Turyagumanawe. He is going to be hosting Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, the actor Acting Secretary and Director Operations from the Electoral Commission. For now, let's take another break as we do exit for that interview. Later on, we'll be back with other topics that made rounds of headlines. For now, it's a good morning.
Don't miss Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, the Acting Secretary at the Electoral Commission, in a face-to-face conversation with Elijah Turyagumanawe, dissecting pressing issues on the road to 2021 general elections. Tune in this Friday at exactly 7 a.m. East African Standard Time on the 28th August.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wanuko STV biri kumachakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri z'okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe engeri z'okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva wategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma mikwano gy'abaavu baani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera no ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri y'omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbakute akwate 6 pack abufune mubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
Abalamuzi babagamba if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omu ku twiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule enjijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukkiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Kino ky'ekirungo ky'ebyobulamu nange omumbejja nva nnonje. Abasajja bangi ko n'abavubuka ab'omulembe guno abanoonya eddagala eribayamba mbu okubeera abavumu n'okutuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwabwe mu maka n'okubeera abaami ab'amaanyi ab'embavu ng'omusambya. Naye abaami abamu kye batamanyi nti ekigenda okuwa amaanyi si by'ebintu by'ogenda okunywa byokka oba okulya kwokka, naye kino kitegeeza oteekeddwa okukyusa embeera y'obulamu bwo. Bw'oba ng'oyagala okuvumula ekirwadde oteekeddwa okumanya ensibuko yaakyo. Bino bye bimu ku ebyo ebinafuyiza abaami n'ebitonde ebisajja. Okutuula ennyo omubiri ne gubeera nga gunafuye. Abatuula ku zi kompyuta, mu abatuula mu zi yafeesi, bannaffe abakola emirimu nga gwogugo gwa kutuula butuuzi, emibiri ginafuwa. Ekirala kwe kukwata essimu zo n'oziteeka mu nsawo ez'empale. Ekyo nakyo kyennyini kireetera omwami okunafuwa kubanga essimu ezo z'olaba byuma bivaako otusannyalaze otukola obulabe eri obutonde bwo ng'omusajja. Ebisumuluzo bino bye musiba ku mpale oba bye muteeka mu nsawo oludda olumu ne luzitoowererwa. Kati bwe luzitoowererwa ne lukka ne lutandika okusika oludda luli olw'omukono omulala. olwo kati n'obeera ng'oludda olumu lwe lukuwaniridde. Ebisumuluzo bino ogenda okubijjako ng'otuuse ewaka oba ng'ogenda okuwummula oba okwebaka. Oludda olumu luba lumaze okunafuwa. Okuvuga ennyo emmotoka. Si kibi okuba n'emmotoka, naye weewengayo akadde otambuleko oba olinnyeko ku takisi oba emmotoka ogipaakingeko ewalako, weeweemu akabanga akatambula. Okwambala empale ez'omunda ez'abaami ez'enkola enfu. Ennaku zino mwambala empale ezibakwata ne zibalemesa okwegazaanya oba okwetaaya. Ndowoozaawo mutegedde bulungi. Ekirala, obutawummula kimala. Abantu b'ennaku zino temuwummula. Bw'abeera ku mulimu aba akola, mu kuddayo awaka aba akola, okutuuka okwebaka era asigala akola. Leero wali bano ba laptop, simanyi bandi ku ssimu, simanyi bankola zi bizinensi ezo ezitatadde. Bannanga omuntu oteekeddwa okuwummula. Oteekeddwa okukola ku dduyiro, exercise, omubiri guno n'ogukozesa. Kendeeza ku mugejjo. Sigamba nti obunene bubi, naye teekako omubiri gw'osobola okuwanirira. Ekirala, okweraliikirira ebirowoozo. Ennaku eyitiridde nayo kyennyini kireetera omusajja okunafuwa mu butonde. Ekiviirako abaami b'omulembe guno okunafuwa kwe kubeera n'abaagalwa abangi. Olina ono. Ky'oba omanya nti abantu abo enkula zaabwe za njawulo. Era buli omu buli lw'obeera naye, amaanyi g'okozesa gaba ga njawulo. Endya ey'ennaku zino, endya yammwe abaami, abalenzi, abavubuka, nkyamu nnyo. Munywa nnyo sukaali. Bannange n'otunuulira omusajja, ekitonde ekisajja, ng'atabula ebijiiko bya sukaali 3 mbunze enywano ze nnyo. Sukaali oyo akosa obutoffaali obw'omubiri. Omusajja owa nnamaddala tanywa nnyo sukaali, talya nnyo biwoomerera. Muve ku mmere ennyogoga. Buli kiseera n'ogenda mu firiigi n'oggyayo ebinnyogoga, n'olya emmere ennyogoga, n'onywerako ebikamule. Kwegamba ewaka n'oddayo olya bumpwanjimpwanji, ate n'osuubira okufuna amaanyi aganaakola emirimu ng'omusajja. Ekyo wa oba weerimbye, kyusa endya gy'olyamu. Ebiragalalagala bye mukozesa. Buli lw'owulira ekikuluma, mugongo mirawo empeke, maviivi mirawo empeke, mutwe mirawo mpeke. Abamu mwekuba ebiyisoyiso, abalala mugaayo ebintuntu bye mutamanyi na gye bivudde, abalala munywanywa ebintuntu. Ebiragalalagala ebyo bituuka mu mibiri ne bikosa emibiri. Tubuulire ku ddagala erizaamu amaanyi. Twagala kuba mbavu, twagala kola ki? Sooka otereeza ebyo waggulu. Ebyo bw'onoomala obitereeza, nja kukubuulira omusajja anaabeera ow'amaanyi, ow'embavu, omuvumu, biki byalya osobole okubeera omuvule, kubanga go gubwatula ate era ne guggomeza. Ekyo kye kibadde ekirungo ky'ebyobulamu wano ku STV. Nange Omumbejja Nvannonje. Tujja kwongera okuliziganya. Tojjanga okwo. Weerabirire bulungi.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Olwogoto lwa waaka.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wano ku STV. Biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo. Engeri tusobola okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe, engeri tusobola okuzimba gye tubeera, gye tuva. Waategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma. Mikwano gy'abaavu baani? Otambula otya? Osula otya? Okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo. Emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera wano ku STV. Tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'aba Slay Queen. Tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi. Tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri y'omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga. Omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack amufune mubatambule naye wano ku STV. big network. See ya.
Abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu kutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange, the role of which could have been a malicious society. Sapule njijjamu.
Noyingire sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri, sapule twekitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi. Ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi. Naye tebamukkiriza na tusanitize. Bamutadde butese mu piikaavu ba mu State House. Naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Exactly 7 and a few minutes past 7, about 7 minutes past 7 a.m. East African Standard Time, and we are back where it all begins. My name is Elijah Turyagumanawe. You're probably used to me on the other side of your screen. Where it begins, Buziga Hill. That's my new address, and it all begins here. About 127 years ago, I was born on this hill, and it was meant to happen. It's an electoral period, and we're going to be casting an eye on the electoral roadmap 2020-2021 and what will shape the polls, general elections come 2021. In studio today, I have a very important gentleman to dissect issues around this area. We will always fulfill our promises of bringing to you the updates, both in current affairs, be it political, economic, and social events. Well, we're going to be casting an eye on the electoral roadmap and how prepared is Uganda to hold an election that is eligible and that is going to be trusted by all the electorate. In studio today, I have Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, who is the acting secretary and the director of operations at the Electoral Commission.
Yes,
you're welcome to the STV studios.
Thank you, Elijah, and all our viewers. Good morning. I wish you a nice day. Thank you for this opportunity to interact with the Ugandan citizenry and all viewers and listeners this morning on Bunga Hill.
Absolutely, in Buziga Hill. Well, you're welcome to the STV studios. Well, just to remind you, the viewers, that you can engage with us on all our social media platforms at Ace TV Uganda on Twitter, Ace TV Uganda Facebook, Instagram, and my personal Twitter handle is at Elijah Turya. On Facebook, Elijah Turyagumanawe. Engage us, send us questions, because this is going to be an engagement conversation with the acting secretary of the Electoral Commission, who is also doubling as the director of operations. Well, to start with, Mr. Leonard Mulekwa.
Yes, ma'am.
Give us an update of the special interest groups, the elections. How did the Electoral Commission find it? How far have you gone? But also, you can help us understand in terms of you as the acting secretary, but also doubling as the director of operations. Should be a very stiff job for you. How are you handling the two offices at the same time?
Thank you, Elijah. Well, yes, the two offices of operations and being secretary to the commission. But you see, institutions have systems. So what you do is, as a leader, is to oversee and coordinate the flow of affairs in a coordinated way, in a system. So there is a system at the commission how things work. So yes, as director of operations, you oversee the technical operations of the institution. Then as secretary, you are the overall coordinator of the institution, overseeing the administration and technical parts. But since there is a system, it's not as difficult as one would see it on the outside, that how can one manage the two busy offices.
Isn't it overwhelming
busy,
for you?
But because of the systems in place,
yes,
you are able to coordinate and you're able to move on.
Absolutely.
That's how we have managed so far.
Absolutely. Looking at the revised electoral roadmap that was launched and availed to the public, what are the key milestones that have been achieved so far?
Yeah, maybe before the revised, I will take you back a little. That before the outbreak of the COVID-19 and the consequent lockdown, we had finished a number of activities on the roadmap. And our roadmap normally starts, you remember we launched in 2018, and normally it starts with us identifying areas for representation at the local government level, which we call demarcation of electoral areas. Immediately after that, same time we do look at the areas where people are going to vote from. This is the area of representation. If you took this studio as an area of representation, then we have to set where did the people in this area vote from. So we do what we call reorganization of polling stations, and it's because of new areas created, the growth in voter population, people wanting more polling stations. So we started with that activity way back in last year. After that, we captured, we set up, we even published the polling stations and the areas of representation for purposes of local government in preparation for updating the voters register, which activity we also able to do and closed on 23rd December last year. So we're able to give opportunity to all Ugandans who are never registered to register as voters, and those who wanted to change locations where they vote from to change. So that activity also ended. Then we went in, we took back the register to the population.
During that activity, I had a conversation with Chairman Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama, and I wanted to ascertain if there were any changes, any significant changes in the
normally the
voters
changes
register.
are there, because when we take for display, the community comes up and tells us, yes, this brother of ours, this sister of ours, passed on, and we must remove those ones. We have new people coming on board. We have people changing locations. Maybe he was living in Kampala. Now he's no longer living there. He has moved to Buziga. So that activity takes place.
And considering the circumstances of COVID-19, do you see any unforeseen changes that perhaps during the activities of the updating of the voters register were not predicted?
Well, we have not received complaints related to that as yet, so we think, because the law says you register where you reside or where you originate from. Like person I originate from Udaka. So if I either register in Udaka or I register where I reside in Kampala.
Okay.
So because of that, now with the COVID, even when the lockdown came, people are in their places of either residence or origin. So we have not had any issues raised towards that. So by the time of lockdown, we had just completed the display of the register and we're retrieving returns. And we're going into elections for special interest groups. That's when we went into lockdown. 3 months, we lost.
Yes. 3 months. We shall discuss the 3 months lag in the Electoral Commission's activities. But also the special interests groups, elections, there's persons with disability, the elderly, and the youth.
And the youth.
What are the key issues that came out that you'd love the viewers to understand? Bring us to speed.
I think the key issue is that government put in place affirmative action for a number of previously vulnerable groups. And this was to give these groups opportunity into leadership so that they're able to present issues, unique issues affecting these categories of citizens, so that they are addressed for purposes of planning, for purposes of development, and that's why government came up with the affirmative action. Ordinarily, without that, it would be very difficult for these categories to compete. So they put up the special interest groups as an affirmative action. And these groups include initially the women, the youth, the persons with disabilities, and now the older persons. So all these are groups under affirmative action, so that they are able to access positions of leadership and influence services to these specific groups.
Ultimately, yes.
So to do that, there must be elections to identify leaders for these groups.
Very true.
So in the revised roadmap, we rolled out this activity, and so far we are moving on well. As we speak this morning, we have elections of the older persons at parish level. We started with village level on the 11th with the older persons. We had a very good day and very successful election. We moved on 13th, this very month, we had elections for persons with disability at village level. Then on 17th, we had elections for youth at village level, where we had some challenges in about 48 villages in the country. We were not able to vote on that day, but later they succeeded and had the elections on.
Yes.
Now, this is a progressive election. The leaders who win at village level, in each village, a committee, moves to the parish and forms a parish council. And they elect from among themselves leaders at parish, who also will move to the sub-county. And they are going to move on like that up to the time when they elect members of parliament representing these groups.
Oh, yes. Mr. Leonard, I want you to assure the viewers, but also paint for us a picture of what the scientific campaigns and ultimately scientific polls would look like. And assure Ugandans that even with the 3 months lag in your Electoral Commission activities, preparation, the roadmap activities, that still you can hold an election that they will believe in?
We shall, because when we rolled out the roadmap, yes, we lost time because of COVID-19, and we were able to explain that. You remember some political parties wanted to have more time, and we said because we lost 3 months, the only time available now is this. So all of the activities that we are supposed to conduct, we are going to conduct. But some of them we are going to conduct them under reduced time frames. For example, we are going to have elections today. On Monday we are going to have elections. On Wednesday we are going to have elections. So they are squeezed because we lost time. But it doesn't mean we cannot have good elections. We are going to have good elections because these are different categories. So in terms of setup, we are set.
Is Uganda ready to hold a scientific election? A scientific campaign
maybe,
at that? Maybe
not a scientific, because really it's not scientific. I think the only difference is that it has become a norm now. What we are calling special operating procedures, I think now they have become our day-to-day personal hygiene behavior.
Exactly.
Wearing a mask now is a norm. Keeping distance, like where you are and where I am, and I think this is what is recommended.
Yes,
so they said measure 2 of these.
Social distance.
Social distance, about 2 meters. I think now it's a normal. Washing hands, use of sanitizer. So these are what we are saying. As long as these are in place, I don't think this makes it scientific.
How are you working with stakeholders like Ministry of Health to ensure that we do not have a disaster after the elections?
Well, I think what we want to appeal to Ugandans, we should not look at this as Ministry of Health Affairs. We should not look at this as the Electoral Commission. We should not look at it as police. Some people are asking that police should be there to enforce them to wear masks. It's your personal health. So you need to take up this matter as an individual and make it a must in you that as I leave home, do I have my mask on? Because there is nothing scientific in wearing a mask. There's nothing scientific in washing hands. There's nothing scientific in sanitizer. And once you can wash your hands regularly, you may not even need a sanitizer, but you need a mask. And we are saying as long as these things are there, you can even have a campaign meeting. Provided you are able to distance, you are able to wear a mask, you are able to wash hands. And we think that doesn't make it scientific. Because the campaigns are the ones which are being regulated. And we can do this even without anybody standing there to enforce.
Yeah, very true.
But the leaders, the candidates, the aspiring candidates, the agents should be responsible enough to enforce and ensure that when they're having their meetings, the people keep a distance, that the people are wearing their masks, that the people are washing hands. If we can do that as a country, we should be able to achieve elections and also safeguard the health of the citizens.
Very true.
If we don't, then I don't think we shall blame Minister of Health or we should blame Electoral Commission. No, we should have ourselves to blame. Even you as an individual. Surely now with COVID-19, I don't think you need anybody to remind you that you need to wear a mask in public.
Yes, yes.
That you need to keep distance. That you should not hug. I don't think now we need anybody to remind us.
We need no reminders.
We need to take personal responsibility.
Absolutely. Ugandans out there are wondering how the scientific election will actually be implemented. What are the changes that we'll be witnessing apart from social distancing, wearing masks and all that? Are we still going to see people cast their ballots in a queue or with something different?
I think we are not going to have a scientific election. We're having the usual election. The only change is that we are going to now wear masks. We are going to keep distance between each other. I think those are the critical things.
Exactly. Thank
now,
you for clearing
on
the air.
voting, the people will line up as usual. The only difference is that as you leave home, leave with a mask. When you arrive at the polling station, before you access the polling station, we shall ask you to wash your hands. As you leave the polling station, we shall ask you to wash your hands. Those personal hygiene behavior
very true
are the difference. In the past, you would come in, nobody is asking for washing hands, nobody is in a mask. I think that's the only difference. But we shall line and vote as we have been doing. So, and I think this is not scientific election. It's the usual election we have been having. Because we shall vote the way we have been voting. So, because scientific means maybe people vote online. I don't think Uganda is ready for that.
But then the campaigns have been hugely affected.
Yeah, they have been affected.
Some have been curtailed.
No campaign has been curtailed.
We've seen security agencies stopping some political participants from holding debates on media platforms, on the waves, on broadcast stations. How would you explain that? If the elections are going to be credible and you want the electorates to believe in, then the campaigns have to be on a level
use
ground.
The media.
Exactly. So if the media, how is the media going to be used? Let's discuss this as well. Who is going to foot the bills? Because some cannot actually afford that. Is everyone going to be allowed to access media stations? Because recently we've seen political participants, mostly the opposition participants, being barred from accessing media stations. To mention,
maybe we should look at why are they bad. I think we need to find out at that point.
And mostly
because we have had, yes, some people have been stopped even holding meetings, but we also need to look at. I've seen some clips on TV from various political players, and some of them, the political players themselves are not responsible enough.
In terms of
they are not guiding their followers
observing
on
the
social distance,
operations,
on wearing masks. Because this health is a personal matter.
So it's a precautionary measure.
Yes. So if you want to hold a meeting, for example, we have said we are not limiting a number. You can even hold 1,000 people, provided the meeting point meets the required COVID-19 measures. And which are these measures? That people are able to distance. For example, if you say you have space like this studio and you want to hold a meeting here of 100 people, can they fit under COVID measures?
No.
So if you want to insist that you want to hold them here, what will happen? We shall stop you. Now when we stop you, will you say we have stopped you?
How
Who would have caused
about
the
on a
stop?
TV station, on a radio station, where they're just going to be speaking to the public, just like we're having a one-on-one?
You
right
come like I came, alone. If I'm going to come in a convoy, so many people are following, maybe I'm even on open roof. Is that okay?
Of course not.
So what should we do? Should we allow it to continue?
Not
endangering all the people who are following you?
Of course not.
I think in this case, we need to look at, if someone is stopped, why is the person stopped? Why is the other not stopped? And I think in this case, police should be able to stop, irrespective of political party affiliation. As long as someone is violating the standard operating procedures for holding a campaign meeting, people should be stopped, irrespective of...
Some politicians might feel like COVID-19 is being used as an excuse. What would you say to them out there?
Well, that's their opinion. But as far as we are concerned, it's not only Uganda that's being affected by COVID-19. Many countries, and we have been guided so by the highest body in the area of human health, World Health Organization. We have seen even the advanced countries have put in place the same measures we have here, of wearing masks, of social distance, of hand washing.
At that very point, I would ask you, why then go ahead to hold an election when you knew it was risky for the populace?
Why? You see, as a country, we are guided by
because some countries have postponed.
And our laws, each country has its laws. For example, there are countries where the president is the one who announces the voting day. In our country, I don't think the president can announce a voting day. Yes? Because the Constitution has guided who announces voting day, the Electoral Commission.
It will be constitutional.
So even here, the Constitution directs us when elections should be held. So because the Constitution does so, as Commission, we came out and said, look, the Constitution is telling us we must hold elections between 10th January and 8th February 2021. That's what the Constitution is saying. For it doesn't know COVID or no COVID. Once it directs it so, so it's up to you to sit down. In this environment of COVID-19, how do we achieve elections without endangering the population?
Mr. Mulekwa, let's look at your agenda coming into office as the acting secretary of the Electoral Commission. The Constitution gives you a mandate of 6 months as acting. That means your tenure will be expiring towards the elections. Briefly, take us through your agenda coming into office. What were you looking at? What areas are you putting your focus and concentration on? But also, will it be achieved before the elections?
Okay, you see, taking office, especially public office, there are guidelines and regulations that govern that. When you are appointed, say like you are saying, I'm appointed on acting basis as Secretary Electoral Commission. There are procedures, how, if I am to be confirmed in that office, how I should be confirmed.
Yes.
It's the appointing authority, in this case the Commission, to assess if I'm meeting the requirements of the office, if I'm delivering as expected. It's up to them to assess and say, yes, I think we are now satisfied that we can confirm this person. It's not that I should be there and campaign to be confirmed. It doesn't happen in that way.
It does.
So those procedures which are there have to be set. Yes, I've had people talk of 6 months, but 6 months will coincide with the elections. I don't know about the 6 months. It could be 6 months, it could be less, it could be more. It's up to.
But at least we know constitutionally 6 months.
No,
when,
it's not
when
in
the acting position.
The guidelines, the public service standing orders guide.
Exactly.
So, and that's what I'm saying, depending on the assessment of the, in this case, the commission, it could be less than 6 months, it could be 6 months, it could be more than 6 months. Yeah.
Very true.
Depends on how they are satisfied that the officer is serving.
Moving away from that, let's look at the internal issues of the Electoral Commission. In the previous 1.5 months, we've seen quite a number of changes. We've seen people getting sacked. And some of these events have not been clearly explained to the public to understand them to the core. What could have led to some of these changes?
Well, as Director of Operations, I'm a member of the Commission. And to the best of my understanding, nobody has been sacked by anybody. Colleagues at work, for reasons known to them, they requested
to stand down,
to cut short their stay with the Commission, and they put in these notices to the Commission requesting that they should be let go. And this is documented, it's there. If really someone wanted even that kind of evidence from the people, even the people themselves who left, I'm sure they can be reached and they will tell you that at their own will. Maybe it coincides that
Mr. Mulekwa, there is no smoke without fire. And on institutional grounds and management of institutions, there could have been issues that led to this. Were they probably persuaded into that direction? What could have happened internally?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not so aware of anybody persuading them to
rumors around registration of NUP and
it's good
opposition
you are
powers.
calling them rumors.
That's why I'm calling them rumors,
of course,
so you
when,
can
when
justify.
people don't know and something happens, they can attribute anything as having caused. But the fact is, the best of what we know, the colleagues submitted in letters requesting to be let go. And as I said, these people are available. They can also be reached. I'm sure people have their media. You have their contacts.
At least the former spokesperson of the institution.
Yeah, you have his contacts. Even the former secretary, you have his contacts. Yes. I'm sure they can be reached, and I'm sure they will tell you that we voluntarily left. Because if I say I ask to leave on personal grounds, and I've not divulged the grounds, now me as a staff at the commission, can I know the personal grounds? I cannot. It's to the person leaving who can know. So in terms of details, the real cause, maybe the people left could be able to explain. But at least I'm sure they can tell you that they willfully left the commission. Nobody sacked them. No, but because there were insinuations that the president sacked them. The president has no power to sack anybody at the commission.
On public relations grounds, doesn't this damage your public image in terms of holding a credible election?
Why? Because people live everywhere in public service, not only at the Electoral Commission. I'm sure even in the media houses, one can live. Yeah, you can put in your letter, willing to say no. Resignation. You say no, either I'm resigning or I'm terminating my contract or I'm taking early retirement. And normally, when someone takes, the institution cannot say no.
Very true.
Yeah. And it should not affect, like I said, we have systems in place. So if one person left, because even people retire, out of age, and you know how many ways do people leave institutions? One, the normal way is people retire, people change jobs, people can be called off and pass on. So in all these avenues, when people leave, but because of the systems that are in institutions, yes, you may feel a gap, but you are able to catch up because of the systems set up. It's not a one-person affair. It's a team issue. So that's why I think for us, we have been able to feed in. I'm sure in terms of public relations and spokesperson, I'm sure Paul of Kenya has had to come in because he was part of the system. You see, that's what I'm talking about in terms of system. So he has been able to step in. I'm sure you have seen that.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So we should be able to move on, and that shouldn't affect, I want to assure Ugandans, shouldn't affect the conduct of elections.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we shall go for a short break, but when we come back, Mr. Leonard Mulekwa will be addressing the issues concerning the elections and how prepared the Electoral Commission is to hold an election in a time like this, where we're just exiting a crisis of COVID-19, and how the standard operation procedures should be observed going forward. Let's go for a short break and we'll come back with more. Of course, interactions on social media will be ready. If you have any questions, you can send them in now so that Mr. Mulekwa can respond real quick. Let's go for a break.
Watching STV, select for fun.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wano ku STV biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri tusobola okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe engeri tusobola okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva wategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma mikwano gy'abaavu baani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera no ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri y'omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack amufune mbubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
Abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu ku twiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda bw'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukkiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu
Hey guys, you're watching STV, select for fun.
Come back. It is the first show and my first show at STV. What an irony. Well, we're going to be continuing with the conversation with Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, who is the Acting Secretary and Director of Operations at the Electoral Commission. Well, before we went for a break, the question that I had posed to him was if the Electoral Commission is actually ready to hold an elections. Are we going to see quite a number of changes from the previous general elections in 2016? What changes specifically? Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, let's start from where we stopped. What changes? Of course, at a later stage, we shall be having callers from our audience to fire questions to you that you respond to directly. But looking at the elections, what are the changes that we're going to witness from the previous general elections in 2016? We witnessed the biometric strip being introduced for the very first time in the electoral history of the Republic of Uganda. What changes are we going to see this time around?
I think we are conducting the same election. The only changes, like we have said, are those which have been brought about by the pandemic. So if now the life under COVID-19 is the new normal, then there is nothing new. Because I think the issues we are talking about now are no longer new in Uganda.
Absolutely.
Because we have lived now. Now we are some months in it. And I will believe as we move on, we are going to move on, getting used and perfecting how we wear masks. We are going to perfect the washing of hands. And we are going to get used. Because the Ugandans, we have been used to in the past. Wherever we meet, we hug, we peck. Now, some of these things we have to get used, not to practice them. So in terms of the elections, we are going to conduct the same election. We are going to have it the same way. The only change is that now, because of the COVID-19, we have to change the way we behave. We should now have masks. We should wash hands, which was not an issue. You washed your hands in your home, and that's it. Now you are going to wash at your home. You reach at a polling station, we are going to ask that you wash your hands, inevitably, that you must be wearing a mask. So these are the only changes. But people should turn up and vote as they have been voting, and vote the leaders they want.
To avoid a recap of history, of course negative history, where we saw the electorates, but also stakeholders in the general elections complain of irregularities in the 2016 elections, where voters' voting materials didn't arrive in time in certain areas. For the time you've been in office and in that very critical position, what changes have you endeavored to make as we head to 2021?
As a commission, yes, we did have those challenges last general elections, where we had 8 polling stations in Kampala and Wakiso receiving polling materials late, and we learned a lesson from it. Yes, we apologized to the country, and we had a lot of lessons from that. And since then, the institution has been working and putting in place measures to make sure that polling stations all receive materials in time. That one was a big lesson and happened because of some logistical issues. But I think we learned that. So we have been able to plan ahead, and we promise Ugandans this time round we are going to have materials delivered at all polling stations in time. And for the elections that have been already taking place under the special interest groups, I think we have had all our materials in place, our officials in place in time, and we have also had the SOPs in place. Our staff were wearing masks. We had hand washing facilities in place. Because that's what we promise Ugandans. We shall have materials in place, we shall have hand washing facilities in place, and our staff will be wearing masks. And we appeal to the voters who are turning up also to turn up in masks.
Absolutely. To many stakeholders, the irregularities in the 2016 elections could have been interpreted as either a syndicate that was deliberately well designed to frustrate certain stakeholders.
Frustrate who?
Let's discuss the independence of the Electoral Commission. How independent is the Electoral Commission, starting from the structures to the execution of your mandate that is given to you constitutionally?
I think if you look at the commission, where do you want to see the independence?
At every level.
In the way they take decisions. The commission sits at the commission and takes a decision without calling to consult anybody. And that's why even when we released the revised roadmap, even the government was like, why now?
The president was consulted.
Yeah, but he was not consulted on whether we should go ahead. He was consulted because we wanted the money. But as to whether we should roll out, that was not the matter. We went to him and said, we are rolling out, but we want this money.
And in the capacity of the president.
And even him was like, but how can you roll out in this COVID? We said, but we have put measures in place. And you asked, can you discuss those measures with the Minister of Health? Who are the experts? We discussed with them and they were satisfied and we rolled out.
Absolutely.
So we take decisions as a commission and we don't have anybody to consult to take a decision. We consult the laws. That's it. We only consult on issues of money, and I'm sure we cannot be independent on funding because we don't generate money.
Absolutely.
Government does. So if we have to go to government for money, if asking the government for money makes us not independent, then maybe we are not in that aspect of money.
Why then not write to the Ministry of Finance directly?
Yeah, we wrote to Finance, and the Finance was not responding. And for us, we were worried of time, because already we had lost 3 months and wanted to pronounce ourselves, and Finance was not responding that, okay, we have the money. So we had to seek for the chief finance officer of the country, who is the president.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I think in that consultation, once the Minister of Health advised that, yes, they have enough measures in place, the money was released to us.
Yeah, before COVID-19, there was a debate on lack of funds to carry out your mandate. Has that been covered if we delve deeper into the money issues?
Yeah, financial constraints as a country, I think it is affected by the basket, and everybody is financially constrained. If government is financially constrained, I think all government agencies get constrained because of how money comes in. And under COVID, I'm sure the revenue collection is not as good as before COVID, because so many people have been affected. You can see businesses went into lockdown, so there is no way Uganda Revenue Authority will collect funds as before COVID-19. So because of that, yes, government has to rationalize the resources they have. So I cannot say we have all the money we have, but we have been promised by government as we move alongside our roadmap that they are releasing the funds. So we are sure that they will release the funds. Because last general elections, they gave us all the funds. But you see, government releases funds in a quarterly basis. So we are sure we shall conduct our activities and that government will give us the funds.
But you're still behind schedule. How sure are you that the funds will be in your hands by the time you roll out the activities?
No, we are not behind schedule in our activities. Yeah. Because
even with
the way we rolled out our roadmap, that's how we are moving. Yeah.
Okay. I want to leave the subject of the money covered once and for all. Let's move on to the participants, the stakeholders at various levels, the candidates. What vetting procedure do you use to ascertain their funding sources?
Parties have an obligation to submit and declare their sources of funding. It's their obligation.
And how important is this to the election?
To the election, you know, because of the electioneering processes and because of the country laws on money laundering, and I think that's why there has to be that they should be able to declare their sources of funding. And the laws say they can receive money from anybody, apart from countries that could be categorized as hostile. Yeah. So because of that, they declare so that they see is the sources of funding right, or they are people.
So this has a huge infringement on the diplomatic ties of the nation.
It shouldn't infringe. Yeah. Because all countries where
because if you see
as a country we relate.
If you're saying they're hostile countries, then that means it's a diplomatic issue now.
Yeah. Because if a country is categorized as hostile, I'm sure even there will be no diplomatic relations with us.
Absolutely.
So if you want to receive money from that kind of country, why should you? Yeah. So it's there to make sure that that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, at this very juncture, we shall be moving into the phone calls to engage the public. Like I told you, it's going to be a mixture of our audience, the viewers out there, and they'll be talking to us directly in studio right now and firing their questions to Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, the Acting Secretary and Director Operations at the Electoral Commission. Hello? Yes, sir. It's Kasavu Kani. Yes, sir.
Mukwano gwa SK Mbuga nenga mbere no Masaka Kyotera.
Yes, sir. Kati
kakati ekibuuzo kyembuuza omukulu w'akakiiko ak'ebyokulonda.
Yesebo.
Ekibuuzo nno kinene kuba kati oyinza okubeera ne famire. Kati ekibuuzo oyinza okubeera nga gwe taata w'abaana ewaka nga wawasa maama kati gw'osuubidde maama asobola okuwa omwana nkoko nkulu. Kuba tulaba Oweekitiibwa Pulezidenti Museveni alonda akakiiko ak'ebyokulonda nti tusuubire akamazima n'obwenkanya.
Weebale nnyo ssebo olw'ekibuuzo kyekyo era ngenda kiwa omukulu Leonard Mulekwa abe ng'akiddamu butereevu. So Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, you had the gentleman online still discussing the independence, but we shall be coming to that. Let me get another phone call. We shall be having around 3 phone calls, then we conclude. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Oh, you'll be getting that absolutely on our other programs that are promotional programs. Another line? As we wind up, if there's any phone call, but Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, in the meantime, as we get another phone call, is there someone?
Hello?
Hello? Yes, Sebo.
Amanya n'eddoboozi nze ambassador w'Abakiga Uganda. Nsima nnyo omubaka SK Mbuga kutukolera TV ennungi nnyo bweti.
Butereevu.
N'okuteekawo abagenyi balungi ab'ensonga. Ekibuuzo kyengenda kubuuza omusajja oyo ekisooka kati ab'ebyokulonda n'abamu balina kyekubira ng'abantu. Ekisooka abali ng'abakolera muzeeyi kyo kiri awo. Ekyokubiri aba opposition okubagaana okukuba enkuŋŋaanya zaabwe nga oluusi nga basabye olusa abantu nga 20 ekyo tebakikkiriza ddala. Okubeera ku TV oba ku radio babagaanira ddala ndowooza olumanyi byonna ebigenda mu maaso olw'ekitiibwa Bobi Wine Kyagulanyi. N'ekirala ati kyembadde nsaba lwaki akalulu akabanene bakakuba ku mubokisi ate akalala bakakuba ku mugongo ndaba bagala kukyayisa ngafe abantu ba wansi abantu bagwe tebagala kukyayibwa. Nsigada ambassador Abakiga SK Mbuga mwagala nnyo kwereza eggwanga n'obukiga.
Kale Sebo, weebale nnyo bibuuzo bibiri. Those were 2 questions, Mr. Leonard. The question on still on independence. I think the question of your independence as an institution is coming out more than once. Let's have one last caller to make it 3, and then we conclude the phone calls. Hello? Hello? Is someone there? Okay. Let's end with that in the interest of time. Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, you had the questions for yourself. Yes. So you scribbled something down.
As the Electoral Commission, the way we do our work, I think we are impartial. Because we give information to everybody, like we are here discussing. I'm not sure.
Because when you read your mission and vision, it's impartiality.
It's impartiality.
On global standards.
And that's what we do. I don't think the issue of saying the Commission consulted the President, that makes us impartial. It doesn't. We did not consult him as a candidate himself. We consulted the President of Uganda, who is responsible for the financing. Because the person responsible for the national budget is the President. So if the person designated in the Ministry of Finance, we think they are not responding to our queries.
The first gentleman we had on the phone gave an analogy of Nkoko Nkuru and...
Yeah, because he was talking at the same thing, because we consulted the
Exactly,
President.
but the fact that it's the President that elects you as the structures, makes the structure of the Electoral Commission, how then do you believe that you can actually be independent or be in the interest of another party and not him?
Look at the way the Commission is appointed. It's not appointed by the President. Let's look at the process. Yes, the President nominates people. but the appointing authority is Parliament.
Absolutely.
Yes. If Parliament says, Mulekwa, you have been offered, we are not approving you, can the President appoint that person?
Of course not.
It doesn't. So who is the appointing authority? Is it the President or Parliament? In that aspect, it's Parliament.
Yeah.
Because Parliament has a say on who is appointed as a commissioner.
Parliament just approves.
No. Because they have rejected people before whom the President has nominated. So who has the authority? It's Parliament.
The appointing authority lies in the hands of the fountain of honor. The
President, yes, but the person who approves the appointment. Okay, it's like in a ministry. The PS may issue an appointment letter. Who is the appointing authority? It's Public Service Commission. Because public service is the one which issues and instructs the PS to appoint you.
Very true.
So by signing the appointment letter, is the PS the appointing authority? It's not.
Of course
it's
not.
Public service. So in this case, Parliament, which vets and approves people for these positions, is the appointing authority. Yeah, if Parliament says, if the President says, I want to nominate Elijah for a ministry, and Parliament says no, will the President appoint you?
Of course not.
So who is the authority? Is it the President or Parliament?
But perhaps the President could have a word.
Yeah, but if they say no, and they've said not many, so it is Parliament with authority.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I think Ugandans need to know that.
Let's move on to the other
since
question.
Parliament has authority, it is Parliament, and we report to Parliament. We submit our reports directly to Parliament. So that's where the authority is. In
the other
terms
question
of
stopping people from campaigning,
for me,
accessing media stations.
I want someone to tell me that I want to hold a meeting. And that's what we have said. If you want to hold a meeting, say, write to us and say, Saturday, 29th August, I want to hold a meeting.
Some people have claimed they've written. People have claimed they wrote, written. They did everything, and
that's
still
what
they
I
were
said
stopped.
earlier. That when you write, indicate that I'm going to hold it in this place. I have so many people turning up for that meeting. We are going to come and inspect the venue. The venue should have toilet facilities. Those are sanitation facilities. It should have hand washing facilities. It should be space enough to space people. If that number cannot, like I gave an example earlier, if you say like a hall in this, like this studio, if you say I want to seat 100 people here, can they fit?
Of course not. But
so if they can't fit and you insist that you want to hold them there, we shall stop you. Now when we stop you, is it us who have stopped you?
But not to confuse the Umuntu Wawansi, maybe we shall put in a little bit of Luganda, but we've witnessed some people in the ruling party, the NRM, ministers at that, hold rallies in these days of the COVID-19. I don't want to mention names, but we've
without
seen
respecting the SOPs.
Yes.
Then police
how then do you explain that
for not
the
stopping
opposition,
them?
the other party of the opposition, or the opposition participants, when they do something like that, they are stopped. Okay, but then when it comes to the ruling party, the NRM, when they do that,
I think we have intervened when police stopped Honorable Chagulanyi. We called the police and Honorable Chagulanyi in a meeting. And yes, the warriors, when he came and he wanted to consult as aspiring candidate for presidency, and they stopped him and we called the police. We said, why are you stopping him? Yes.
So does
so
that
we
mean
were to intervene.
Does that mean the police does not work together with you?
They're supposed to work.
The synergy isn't there. Yes, they are supposed to work.
Following the instructions we give.
Yes.
So if they don't follow, we call them to order. Yes.
So,
in that case, we were able to call them with Honorable Chagulanyi.
Should I conclude that the synergy is not strong? Because you're supposed to work together. You're supposed to take a coordinated course of action.
It is strong. But there could be people, as individuals, who may violate and taint the image of an institution. Because if we have said one can hold a meeting, as long as people have masks, the distance is observed, and the number of people can fit in that hall, and police says, I'm stopping you, they are wrong. But if also you're organizing a meeting, and you want, like I've said, you want 100 people in a hall like this.
And that's the exact conversation.
So there we shall stop you. And when we stop you, is it us stopping you or you?
The image is running on the screen right now, showing exactly what we're talking about. That's the NRM, and they're holding rallies.
Which is not right.
Which is not right. And they were not stopped. this is happening behind your back.
No, right now, the activities going on now are not under Electoral Commission.
Okay.
However, as Commission, we have commented about them. The chairman condemned this kind of conduct.
Okay.
Because this is behind. Once we do nomination, now the activities after nomination will be under the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much,
But even
Mr.
now,
Mulekwa.
we have been able to condemn this.
Okay, but as we conclude, the last question from the viewer that was raised was at local levels, the elections are held where the electorate queue or line up behind the candidate, which is unlike of the presidential elections. And he says that the Electoral Commission is perhaps trying to tarnish the names of on the local level and elevating the upper level.
See, the Electoral Commission follows the law. And the law in place, these laws are made by members of parliament. By parliament.
This was amended recently.
So the law for SIGs, which are the committees which are going on now, even the elections today are by lining. And this is not a decision of Electoral Commission. It's a decision of Parliament.
Absolutely.
A commission only implements what Parliament has directed by enacting the law.
Absolutely.
If they say secret ballot, we do secret ballot. If they say by lining, we do by lining. So if there is anybody to blame why we are lining today, it should not be Electoral Commission.
So moving forward, are we going to see a difference in as far as the campaigns carried out in a social distancing way? Let me use that word.
As long as someone follows the laid down procedures for campaigns under COVID-19, people will be free to conduct. There is no limitation on number of people.
Absolutely. Your last remarks. I want you to assure Ugandans that come 2021, they will have very credible elections as we conclude.
Thank you. I want to assure all citizens of Uganda, all the people registered as voters, or those who want to participate in elective offices, please come and participate. Pick the nomination forms, get your people to support you. We are going to follow the law as is. And our guidelines are issued. They can be accessed anywhere. Because of COVID, we have put them on our website. You can access them there, www.ec.or.ug. The guidelines are there. You can read for yourself how things are supposed to be conducted. If you find our official not following the guidelines as laid out, please call us and say, but I'm here and this person is not following. And we shall bring that person to book. So absolutely. I want to encourage you, be out there, be eyes where the commission is not. And the media also, I think I want to thank you. STV and all other media houses, you have done a good job in taking information to the people and exposing some of the things we are seeing. Like those people who are not following the SOPs under COVID-19. I think go ahead to expose this. Absolutely. Go ahead to relay information
and
to
that's
the
our
people.
job.
And want to thank you. With all your crew for giving me. It's also my first show in the studio. And coincide that is also your first show.
It's both our first show.
So I think that's interesting, and we look forward to more shows.
It was great having you in studio, Mr. Leonard Mulekwa, and thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you.
Namaste. May God bless you. As we conclude the show, you've heard it for yourself. Mr. Leonard Mulekwa is the acting secretary at the Electoral Commission, but also doubles as the director of operations. He has been telling us on casting an eye, generic and going in depth into the analysis of how the election, the general elections and also the local elections have been going on, but how ready Uganda is to hold an election in a crisis or recovering from a crisis at a time like this. Thank you very much for engaging us on all our social media platforms. You can continue with the conversation on this particular subject, on how and what will shape the elections come 2021. God bless this proud nation. Peace out.
Thank you.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wano ku STV biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe engeri okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva waategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma mikwano gy'abaavu baani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera no ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri y'omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack abufune mbubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omu ku treason. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of witchcraft in a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingira essabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twegitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde butesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Friday amanyi mwegali abantu beyagala eplan mwazitandise dda kati ndaba batandise ku makya ga leero nga watandise okubanga weteekateeka ngeri gyogenda okulyamu ssente nemujjukire nti enkya President yagambye tulina okukaabira omutonzi nga tusabira eggwanga lyaffe Uganda yetaaga kusabira jjukira okunaaba engalo weerongose longoosa byokola longoosa byotambula nabyo making sure nti kano ka mask oba nako ng'okalina biri w'oyingira kubanga muganange obulamu kyekibugego busooka ate mutandikira okubanga tukola ebyamagezi era ebyamaanyi ku makya ga leero bamutedde Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha mwasuze muteba ssebo ne bannyabo mwebale nnyo mukulika mu kanyumero ako k'ebyobufuzi kumanya ngeri gye tugenda okulondamu ngeri gye tugenda okuteekamu akalulu n'engeri gy'okateekateeka ka scientific simanyi waliwo laale zinaabayo tezigenda kubaawo abadde b'ensunga laale baaba laale tezigenda kubeerawo ku makya ga leero njagala nnyo okuba bagamba nti nina omugenyi wange bulijjo publicity nateete wali ngoyise mu bitaala alina office nene nnyo gagadde katonda alina baakola ebintu nabagamba nti mu COVID-19 ebintu byakyukakyuka dda abaali abasirikale abakuuma enguudo ng'abakuuma n'amaofisi kati bafuuka basawo bebakukebera temperature ng'oyigira ekizimbe you can't believe it ebintu bikyuka abantu wanyoomanga kati bali mu control y'obulamu obwo mwebali nnyo mwasuze mutya publicity nateete good morning oluzungu luli telukyalimu oba telukyalimu yes
accent yange jamani because I think I never zanyo community STV because I'm perpetuating now that respect. Yeah, banja gala nyo bambio kubanga mafula chicheni.
Bakwetaga.
Ate never zanyo Pastor Mondo bambio. Kubanga program yo bambio. Oga can you mean publish and attempt? Why you have been that time now a good race of the peoples?
Yes.
About a single bonji be gombo to went today.
Awe nyindi kukateba ako.
Exactly. Later fighting out to be my God. But come kisagwa. Chobani namutega mati God is plan.
God's plan.
Exactly. Guloma ka Pastor Mondo ali plan iso nyingi.
Kitufu.
Zakola dawu kuzakatonda.
Ebintu byakyuka. Published abasirikale yabakuma abantu ngabakebeza buuma kati abakebeza temperature. Ensekyuse. Published atete wali watya.
Tuli fine olw'ensonga nti kakati byabufuzi bye tuliko nganze agenda okujja kubwe mupi mugana katolwa amayampadde offer nangamba n'otawana agenda kuteeka empapula zo ekiro nayimaliriza
empapula zirazo
naziwaddeyo
waziwaddeyo nga ziriko ki
anti pasamondo anything now to do because I'm doing my living but hard with my heart omutima gwange mukakafu nnyo nti ngenda kuwangula
ogenda kuwangula
nafindi kubanga natete oba
Lubaga
division twina emiruka asatu mukaga kati any time now jonaji manyi netuba ne zone bibiri asatu musanvu because the people had that from the publicity natete zasigera kusakubizana banners abantu bonna bakubisa banner abantu bamanyi nza abantu bamanyi New York Germany, Nigeria, Uganda, and
nga tuvude ku New York kikyoswa mu COVID-19 nga gwe nga publicity nti kino mwana kino kubanga olaba masubwa kali naye abakwano jange wano bemmanyi wali mwambita Adam yasubwa ndongo wali Latifah yesimanyi byali na yasubwa tulina abantu bali wano tukolera wano nga abantu basubwa ebintu kati publicity njagala mbule nti COVID-19 osubwaki
era Pastor Mondo gwe gwabo kunoma kubanga sanga anytime now nti omukulembeze gwanga gena nagama ati ebintu byonna buli muntu adde ku milimo gye nsubuga amabala avuka osinjaga nnyo okunyenya mu bwange
omuwala yeyerusiza n'omuddugavu aliwa gw'oyagala
bayiza ebintu ebyo biraba Pastor Mondo waliwo omuzungu kyayita handsome of the granted of granted omanyi omuwala omweru mulungi nnyo n'okuwaka address wali ogenzeko ku beach Pastor Mondo
ndyayo
obeera ku beach
nawasa Hajjati kyekizibu abeera mu matanvu abisa biri mu nnyangamba mugamba Hajjati kyekiyaŋŋamba nedda ate nga musiraamu mugamba tugende mu ddubi aŋŋamba atayagala kuyingiramu ne hijabu negataabange Allah yamanyi kyali nsasula naye obugumikiriza bombukoze baabwe
naye ffe mu busiraamu bwatugana okwekubagiza buli mbeera yonna okuba ng'ogiri after the life of the body
ekitegeeza kyekyo kati mu luzungu
buli mbeera olina okuba ng'okola ki okinyumirwa omubiri gwe ogube nga guli happy kati nze nkola Pastor Mondo buli obeera ku beach omuwala omweru osobola omulengeza muno naye omuddugavu si kyangu ati abayo the first weight osoga muno itakuba n'abaddugavu naye omweru ali wali ku musenyu ne bamulengera ayaka nnyo ate mwangu wakula
olina bameka
abakazi
omusajja omusiraamu
nga sina busiraamu nze nina kulinnya Pastor Mondo teri mukazi ayinza ganda publicity natete is impossible taliyo
oli star
exactly
motoka ki gy'otambula nayo kuba n'akasumuluzaako
kalawumu weekali awo
kalawumu mwotuula n'ovuga
omuntu yali abaddeko mu bantu ab'enjawulo nga boseeka Pastor Mondo noseekana abantu
nti embeera ekwanguyira kisembayo nti oyagala kuzaala abaana bameka
obudde buno mu life gyendimu bonna abajja kuba you can do it have my money until they read that coin now to do nti mukama katonda anteddewo omukisa gw'okufuna sente ate nga gujja
muyimbi kigosinga okunyumirwa
mubaki tonjawulidde
mu bayimbi bonna mubawala kati waliwo omuyimbi omu gwe mmanyi nze anyumire nnyo akyali ku gundi ku bloka mita Hosna ali awo ya muyimbi ali ku new block anaatera okujja waliwo Juliana Kanyomoozi
yali faani wange nnyo nakwenda kuzonudde omuwuliza kuba yasooka na nyimba za luzungu ayina kemba keyayimba I'm gross today but conferring today so you come happy today doing foresting today remember wonderful I'm sorry no nenga mubayimbi abakyala Matia Spice Dana, Matia Juliana, waliwo omwana omuwala omwerabidde ali mulemo yemune Spice Dana, ekimanyi muyitaani awo naye wali bambi
kayimba kikosinga okwagala kubanga tukala kwenda mu katisaawa zino
akayimba
oba nkunoonyeze
atonyonyeza aliwo akayimba akasipaziza kayimba n'omwana mulenzi awo omwana bidde erinnya simanya kuyita tinigateni simanya ani wekali awo ng'ali n'omwana omulenzi
ate akalala
waliwo n'akamwana ono David Lutalo
naye lwaki oyagala nnyo David Lutalo
atumanyi lwaki mwagala nnyo bambi asengeka ebigambo bye
ate George Teddy
alinga bw'olaba Kenzo no Jessica wawudde olupya lwa Kenzo lwe yayimbye
sinakawulirako
nti lulimu ne Katonda
teeka baawo
yagambye olupya lwa Kenzo yatandise bwe luti omutima buli muntu wadde okola
publicity olinga asaba ate olinga asinda
bwe yakiyimbye of course bwe yakiyimbye ndoza tonalaba era bw'abadde gyalina alukubemu olabe olupya olwa Kenzo that's you can do the very people you help the dreams that time now babako okuyimba kyayagala
njagala banfuneyo akayimba nje naye publicity luli tewazina bulungi olina kewalekamu wali okuwaba oti nga kasteps ate kagenda kati tugamba naye kati publicity ensonga ze z'okuzira mwana mpandikira kantu awo ku Facebook omuwala ali wano bamuyita Halima mbagamba mukwano gwo nangamba mbuliza publicity kabuzo nakawandika wanakasavinga mbuliza publicity ebigere birimu ki birimu olujjegere misumaali ngatti yennyoola bulungi
omwala oyo ngena nakimuddamu mu luzungu nti the grand step mother you were that shopping at the zena grand step mother yanjagaliza kwambalanga tubulungi naye bantire akayimba kakwasa
kwasa yavaako dda
tanaba
kwasa teka naawe
akadebiri utalo tekanaba
batwala akayimba ako akira select hadi publicity mukambuze kibuzo muri bo bango zina amazina kyekyo ku bulamu
mu bulamu bwange amanyi life yange waliwo omuntu akulidde mu omuzungu kyayita the life body of the point that time natu nze ntandise okwebikako bulangiti nga ntuuse Kampala fe twakulira mu mbugo naye kati obudde buno bw'obikka omwana muwala olyo olubuge ne wootajja newotadda
kati njagala osibule abantu ng'olinga DJ kenjagala okulabamu bakutunzemu kamera osibule nga bosibula nga DJ bwasibula lano bring the pom the bomb ngenze kati sibula bagambe
publicity natete ngaze management wa Uganda National Fair mugwana bagamba suppose hange statute awards anytime now mbagala nnyo STV nsimbudde publicity natete ngaze management wa Uganda National Fair mugwanga lubaga South Mondabire dala MP sikubiza bipande.
Good morning.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
abalamuzi babagamba if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omukutwiza this is why Besigye is released Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitidde kongo yadduse ng'omuddugavu
olulogooto lwa waaka.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
mwasuze muteba sebo ne banyabo manyi nti olunaku lwa leero lulungi nnyo lwa Friday nakuzumuza 28 guno mwezi gunyini gwa August manyi nti 2020 tugenda kubanga tumalirizaako kyewunyisa nnyo ngeri tugenda kumalako omwaka. Kigambo kino ekyamagezi ekyolunaku lwa leero ngenda kwogera ku kigambo kye bayita okutya. Okutya ky'ekintu ekikyasinze okubeera ekizibu ennyo ebiri buli muntu. Kituuka ku biri mukazi, kituuka ku biri musajja, kituuka ku mwana. Okwekanga, okutya byanjawulo. Okwekanga kintu ekibwatukiddewo naye bwe kimala okubaawo olufuna kye bayita okutya. Naye nina eddagala ly'okutya kuno nti buli ekikubaako bulamu bwo ng'omaze okwekanga oteeka okuyimirira okumeekinga sure oba okwetegereza embeera eno entiisa efaanana etya. Abantu abasinze okuwangula ekigambo kye bayita okutya, ekigambo ekisookera ddala kwe kwetegereza embeera yonna. Ekintu bwe kibwatuka sooka weetegereze. Bwe bakubikira sooka weetegereze. Bwe bagamba nti ofiiriddwa sooka weetegereze. Weetegereze osobole okuwangula okutya. Abangi bafiiridde mu kutya, bafudde ebikutuko, bafudde pressure lwa kutya. Okutya biseera ebisinga okutuukako mwattu kuba tekulina makulu. Tuba mu kigambo kye bayita okwekanga. Kati sibasebo ne bajjawo. Ebisuula nga bimazeeko otulo, n'osuula nga tiweebase, embeera egaanye, owulira ng'obulamu obuze, nkugamba nti totya. Waliwo Katonda afaayo, ate naawe osobola okuwangula. Kubanga munda mu ggwe mulimu amaanyi ag'obuwanguzi. Lekerawo okutya. Mwebale nnyo. Ku makyagale kibadde kigambo ekyamagezi. Olunaku lwe tulina omwana muwala omulungi ennyo eyakula n'awooloola, ate omugezi ennyo mu bigambo kakensa mu by'ensimbi. Genesis katuwe ebikwata ku ssente, rupiya, dola, pounda, essente y'omuzungu. Genesis, good morning.
Good morning, Pastor Franklin. Thank you so much for the show. I've enjoyed you and Natete doing what you were doing here. He's called Publicity Natete.
Yes.
He's a very interesting young man. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope you have enjoyed Elijah give you the pack that he had, and then you've enjoyed Publicity Natete. And right now, I want us to talk business and money. It is me, Genesis, again, with the business angle. Now, yesterday we talked about the impact of import trade and export trade on an economy. Today, I want to teach you what it means to have a trade deficit, or what is a trade deficit. Now, a trade deficit occurs when a country's imports surpass the value of the exports. This can also be called a negative balance of trade. When the imports surpass the exports, that is a trade deficit. But when the exports surpass the imports, that right there is a surplus trade. Now, usually, when a country is faced by a deficit, it is forced to borrow money. Let me take you a little bit back. If you remember during the lockdown, the total lockdown, the government of Uganda put so many guidelines in place to avoid or to control the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. But in all these guidelines, there was nothing like borders closed. Now, when a country is put in this kind of predicament, it becomes dependent. When it becomes dependent, especially if it is importing goods like food, oil, and building raw materials, it needs this product. So it cannot close borders. How will it survive? That is exactly what our country, Uganda, is in. Now, Uganda's trade budget is structurally a deficit. And this year, that is June 2020, that's to say, the country registered $304 million US just in the month of June. I hope you know what that means. Allow me not to take you further than this for a Friday. There's so much a lot in stock for you. Before I get into Latifah and Chris, let's take a look at the Forex Threats today. Today the dollar is buying at 3,673 shillings and selling at 3,683. The pound is buying at 4,818 Ugandan shillings and selling at 4,831. The euro, on the other hand, is at 4,342 and selling at 4,354.
The Kenyan shillings are at 33 and still selling at 34, something like yesterday. And the Tanzanian shillings at 1.58 and still selling at 1.58. And lastly, the South African rand, which is at 218 and selling at 218. It is clearly improving a lot lately. Thank you so much. Allow me to send you back to studio for Latifah and Chris to enjoy the show. But right now, let me first give you to Pastor Franklin, the man of humor.
Thank you so much, Genesis. You're doing very good. Webale nnyo webalire ddala okubanga olunaku lwali ku makyagalo tuyisa mu bigambo by'ensimbi akasente katale mukalaba akatale k'ensimbi nti ebimu bisanyusa ebirala tebisanyusa naye nga bulijjo tulwane kubanga tuzimbe eggwanga lyaffe tuzimbe byenfuna tuzimbe buli kye tukola. Thank you so much. We'll be right back after this.
Watching STV, select for fun.
Warrior.
Abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu kutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of witchcraft in the malicious society sapule njijjamu.
Noyingira sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri sapule twegitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujje ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujje ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza na tusanitize bamutadde butese mu piikaavu ba mu State House naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Olwogoto lwa waaka.
Hey guys, you're watching STV, select for fun.
Good morning. I know it's a good morning. My intro machagaleo malungi nnyo ku machagaleo wakedde ku macha nga oli supersonic okedde ku macha ngo manyinti eno weekend yo ogimala ngoli talatibo ogimalako ogiyingide mmanyi mujikire ntencha president sazeo nagamba nti wabeerawo okusaba okusaala okwegayira omutonzi abisa munaku lwaleero nga balina juma yaabwe ate bagenda kutandika n'okusaala naye ate nkya eggwanga lyonna national TV zone zisinga zigenda kubanga zoogera ku kigambo kibayita okusaba n'okusaala oba okwegayira omutonzi olw'eggwanga lyaffe COVID-19. President akkiriza nti tusobola okuva mu kintu kino nga twegayidde omutonzi ng'eggwanga lyaffe. Motto yaffe egamba for God and my country. Ekyo nno bwe tumala okukimanya kituwa ebbeetu enkizo amaanyi okubanga twegayira omukama Katonda oba Katonda okusobola okuyamba obulamu bwaffe okukyusa ebyafaayo okukyusa embeera gye tulimu. Tube mu lockdown tuddeyo tweyagale tulye ebitulya tutambule ekiro abantu badde batambula mpaka ku makya obulamu bwakyuka. COVID-19 yakyusa eggwanga lyonna ensi yonna byonna bitambula bwe bityo. Basebo ne banyawo ku makya ga leero nina tiimu gye tugenda okwogera omulamu ogusookera ddala njagala twogere ku bamafia. Mafia bari mu ggwanga. Latifah, good morning. You look so beautiful, babe. How are you? You look nice. You look so beautiful. Oh my God. You look so nice. What is the secret behind today?
I told you, Brush by Barnes did my makeup, and then Jane
Chogere mu Luganda. Chogere mu Luganda.
Nilikuwa nawaambia jameni, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a morning show.
Network evuze yo Luganda.
Network evuze. Kasita muteeka mu Luganda nga network evula. Good morning Makanga.
Good morning Dr. Franklin.
Ova mu Bululi. Bululi, you can see, oh, you're from the Mars.
Bululi saza lya Buganda.
Saza lya Buganda. Saba sajja, naye akontrolinga yo. Naye waliwo Saba Luli, Saba Nyala, bonna bali eyo. Bakola ebintu ebimu. Ku makya leero waliwo kye tugenda okwogerako, ekigambo kye bayita bamafia. Bamafia bano, bulijjo nzize mbategeeza nti bamafia bano bakola enkola yaabwe n'ebintu byabwe ya njawulo. Ndabula abantu bonna abaagala Museveni aboogereko nti mbeegayiridde temukkiriza President Museveni kuboogerako. Kubanga President kasita akusongako n'akwagala bajja kukuba. Nja kulagirako sokolako ku Bebe Cool. Bebe Cool President bwe yamutiitiibya n'ayogera ku mwana we n'alaga ebifaananyi n'ateekawo Bebe Cool baamukuba. Sagala kugamba nti President amwagala naye njagala nkutegeeze nti Bebe Cool on record waliwo abantu abamu abamukyayisa oba baayogera oba bafuna bano bamafia bazibu ndi bakufuula mukwano gwabwe ne bakusemberera naye nga banoonya one single opportunity w'okolera mistake. Kati naye batala si mistake basobola kuba kibata script yaabwe bano bafilm maker bakola script ne bagiruka ne bagitwalira omukulu ne baga nti katolaba oyo mondo nti oyo mondo ali bwati oyo Kristo mulaba bwati bwafaanana. Kati ekigrupu kino kya mafia President Museveni, let me tell you something, nti nze nonkodde siwagira NRM nze mpagira Museveni saagala kuwulira ekigambo kye bayita NRM ekintu bakyonoonye naye nze njagala Museveni
chairman wa party
oyo gwe njagala simanyi oba chairman naye gwe njagala njagala first family eyo first family njagala Katonda Muhoozi mwagalako Magye, he is my role model in military stand. President Museveni mwagalako leadership and wisdom. Kakati oyo role model wange. Ate omulala gwe njagala ye President Bobi Wine owa ghetto. Kyemwagalako akuta abakadde bonna abali mu kibiina ekikadde kya DP n'abatwala in 3 years akyusiza course ya politics. 3 full years bina bikyusiza. Kati tudde ku bamafia bano Hamid nobanga bububi naye oboso okujja abantu mu kibiina n'obasera busenyi n'obaleeta eno oba mugezi newankuba tagenda kuwangula. Of course nkimanyi bobo ntasobola kuwangula ekyo wakiza omugale tasobola kuwangula tusobola kwekalakasa ebigambo bya njawulo nnyo kusinga n'ebikolwa ebiriwo. You watch what you do not what I speak but nze nkubuulira Museveni ajja kuyitawo kano kawedde baaba kano kati movie to branding endala kati kigambo kiri kino waloba mafia bakutte ba ambassador aba Schengen bali mu Zoom meeting bambe ndozanga boogera how to strategize and how to build up and renovate these embassies. Kati waliwo omuwala wa Madivani ono natambulako naye ebiseera ebyo nengenda naye nali ngenda German nali ngenda Frankfurt. Actually, I'm in Munich, but I had to learn in Frankfurt. It was my first time to meet her, Muchala. Very normal. You can't even know that she's an ambassador. Naye amazingly, nti ekiriwa mafia bebawulira gunde eyo meeting bagenze ne basalasalamu butundutundu ne babugatta ne baconstructinga sentence ng'eringa eraga nti omukyalo ono ambassador ayagala kubba sente zinovatinga embassy zaffe. These are mafia system. Nti when you excel into something birokola obulungi ng'oli ambassador oba oli muntu yenna bano abasajja bakunoonya. That is why niteri muntu akyayagala kukola mu gavumenti taliyo kubanga omanyi nti bw'okola obulungi actually nti bw'okola obulungi mu gavumenti ya Uganda bakutwala
ekintu ky'okunovatinga embassy kirimu
bamafia
budget zabadde sente meka
simanyi kasante kali kangi kuba gavumenti ya Ministry of Foreign Affairs department ngeya ministry yaweereza sente for innovation but I think bano bamafia tebazifunako control waliwo ataafunako omugabo waliwo ataafunako ekitundutundu kati kateera eno system eno bwereba bintu nga bigenze nga president bwabyagala banoonya engeri gye ba blackmailingamu omuntu. Let me just tell you something. National resistance movement system ey'omunda it is good at blackmailing. Ekyo kkiriza obagaana nje nkyalina kaadi nga yo blackmail simply there's nobody who can survive in the system. They show you there must be a master. Number one, by creating a kingmaker. To survive in a system, you must have a kingmaker. Or take a kingmaker, more system yayo. Number two, you must submit to the systems zebatadeo. Number three, you must be a partner in crime at every activity and at every stage. Number two, ekintu kyabakirukanga movie nti wawe onokuviramu omulala film star koleki atambule ate bamanyi wekigwera kati birora mu script
kwegamba balinga bana batambuza zi drugs drugs eva jevudde nga bagisasanya ogenda mu nsi zonna. It's a well chained system with cartels.
Next agireso kuva Mexico nagitusa ku border si agisaza.
You know how the cartels operate?
Yes,
they operate like similar to a mafia kind of a system. Nti bwe batuka ngambe mu nsinga Uganda, they infiltrate all systems, even the state house. Nti baberayo n'omuntu wawe buli ministry yonna baberayo n'omuntu wawe. So I think the mafia system operates in that kind of a
mafia system. I don't know what you think about.
Well, we have seen the mafia system operating in Uganda. And someone called me yesterday and said, as you're talking about the government and the shortcomings of the government or police stations in Uganda, could you please not talk about the government in general, but pick out the different mafias that are making the government look bad? We've seen the different negative issues that we've talked about the NRM government, corruption being one of them, and it has been the major issue right now in the country given the COVID-19 funds that were embezzled, and right now we're facing issues whereby we don't have a task force that can sensitize the community about COVID-19 anymore. COVID-19 kati elections and we still don't have money for elections because people have embezzled the money that was supposed to be used to run the country. Kati we're at a position whereby we say NRM government are very bad. NRM government, they don't want to bring services to the people. Road construction money is being embezzled. Corruption is everywhere, and we're blaming the NRM government as a system. But that someone who talked to me told me, can you pick out different people in these particular places and not talk about the government as a general system? Because we've seen His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni come out to fight the corrupt people in these different places in different ways, and we've seen that he has tried his best, although it's too late, because we had a mango fruit as a country, and then the mango fruit ripened from being raw, and they left it there without checking on it, without spraying it, without making sure that there are no flies on it and there are no insects, and they waited. And when we saw the mango fruit ripen, we're like, oh, that looks good to eat. But we did not know that inside the yellow mango fruit there were, you know, things inside that were eating it from inside. The outside looked beautiful, but the inside was rotten. So by the time they realized that something was wrong inside, Gabali dealt the whole fruit from the inside. We only have the
I can give you something. The President Museveni and ebirungi bingi byakoze. Neba mafia tebasobola kubyogerako. Kubanga bali part of what has been eaten up. So let me make an example. If you look at what President Museveni has done, him as an individual, and I give a credit to the president, he's such a wonderful man. I credit the president of Republic of Uganda. Regardless of Mugambi byokulwawo ngati yabuza katonda nti lwaki oluddewo. Lwaki oli katonda. That's not my issue to me, to my theory. My theory. Because for me, it is service delivery. President Museveni, look at every budget he has done. He has gone over on TV to fundraise for funds to come. Nenzi nabagamba nti President Museveni ngali ku TV nga nti mujje tuyambe kusinziza COVID-19 nga fact waliwo abazinonyeza emiwatwa where to go out. My problem is here, Simon, why would you eat COVID-19 when you know that even your own father, your own mother, sister we yenyini asobola okuba nga afiirwa oba nga afa olw'embeera efaanana bw'eti. Corruption, ekigambo kya corruption, abannayuganda tulina okutuula wansi twetegereze, twekube mu kifuba nti embeera eriwo mu Uganda olunaku lwaleero ebijja nga bitukwata bijja kutukwata ffenna, ebijja nga bitulumba bijja kutulumba ffenna, ebijja kuluma Bobi Wine bijja kuluma naffe, nti naawe ne jjajjaawo ne ssengaawo n'omulala mwali naye ekizibu kyaffe kikino nti abasigaye batikula gavumenti batudde kumpi ne president simanyi kye tugenda kukola naye nze nagamba nawandikira Fanakalema ebbaluwa neŋŋamba tukole ekigambo kyebata name and shame name and shame nti omuntu bagamba nti muyaayi nga tuvudde tunakwenda kubya kooti omuntu amukuba empapula z'amawulire bamukole ku katuuni bogere ku baana be ne mukyala we bogere ku famire ye olutalo lusandikire ddala waka mukyala wo ogende mu buli
dwa bulungi okusinziira ku igigi omukyala Irene Mulyagonja bwe bali bakateekawo akatongole ka Nakalima aka State House Anti-Corruption Unit omukyala Irene Mulyagonja let me drive this home
kirongoosi sebo si katongole
ekitongole President Museveni yali akateekawo ekitongole kya State House Anti-Corruption Unit omukyala Irene Mulyagonja yavaayo n'agamba nti abadde agezaako okulwanyisa obuli bw'enguzi mu ggwanga naye nga abasinga okumulemesa ge mannya amanene byayita the big fish ate nga bamanyiddwa wano mu ggwanga kyevudde ngamba mu myaka 35 toyinza kunkakasa nti omukulembeze w'eggwanga tamanyi bantu balya ssente za ggwanga mu ministries empowerinza abantu bangi toyinza kuvaayo n'okakasa bannayuganda nti mu myaka 35 tomanyi bantu balya nsimbi za ggwanga. Recently there was a scandal ya Patrick O yali mu Honorable Sam Kutesa. What happened? There was batekawo katimu okumunoonyerezaako. What happened? We need to see results come out. Tetuyinza kukoma n'okwogera bogezi corruption. We need to see evidence. We need to see things being done in action. Otherwise, bwetwogera ku buli bw'enguzi, Dr. Mondo, bwetwogera ku buli bw'enguzi bujja kukoma mu audio nga bwetwogera wano. We need to see things being done. Wakati wange naawe tukimanyi nti obulwadde obusinga olumensi yatuffe Uganda bwe bulwadde buli bw'enguzi. Otherwise
oddamu statement yemu naye kankugambeko ekigambo kino neno kakimaleko kino Simon bw'owulira nti Honorable Gundi yavuddeyo si yabeera corrupt mafia system efuna omuntu gweyambaza ekintu project n'akituulamu naye abakozi abakola omulimu donkey work bali wansi teri munene gwe bakwata kubanga legally balina okumusevinga kubanga ali up nti bano bagenda munda ono yabajjayo kyekyaMulyagonja nkuvunulira ebirooto byo byobadde oŋŋamba kati saawa zino nti Mulyagonja ayagala kukwata naye birwakwata buno obuto ate simejja ebuuza ani oyo bano bonna betuwulira amanya amanene legally you cannot pinpoint them down tosobola kubakwata n'obapininga kati memulowooza bemutuula eyiwammwe nemulowooza nti Gundi yakola Gundi yakorapti nedda oli kifaananyi bambaza kyambaze naye emirimu egikolebwa giri munda kati abantu abakuba olunaku lwaleero bano omukyala ono muwala Madivani ambasada ani amukuba si bano abanene bokka buno bwana bugenda ku intaneti nibabuwa artwork nibabuwa script ya firimu nti mu firimu eno mutandikire eno ku intaneti mwabye nibasindikira Kakensa nibasindikira omulala nibasindikira babloga kati babloga bamanya ono bamala okufuna amawulire gano eno mafia system ngetuula ngegamba nti oyavaayo atya kati kankubulire waliwo ambasada gwe baagala mu next generation bino birabiraba mukyala era ono ambasada musaasidde takimanyi nti cabinet egenda okuddako n'appointment z'abambasada abaddako already bamafia bataddewo abantu baabwe kati the only way to move them era president kino njagala akimanye nti bino tugenda mu elections even after elections entalo teziba za elections entalo zibeerawo za cabinet posts amawule gapukonga posts list y'abambasada list y'aba-RDC ebyo bimala omwaka mulamba actually emyezi 9 nga ye topic eriwo kakati bambasada bano bagenda munyenyamne gati ono yani nti ono muwala wa Madivani nti abadde akola atya talese milioni 9 in COVID-19 mu Uganda nti fine esana zivaawa nti source bweti nti good kantandike nkulage bwe ngenda okukola olwo ne batandika kumugjayo waliwo omwana gwe bategesaawo era ambasada kankupireko ambasada ali awo wandize nkuwa ekifaananyi kubanga gweoyogera kati ku symptoms n'ebizibu ebiriwo ekizimbe kyabise nze nkuwa bwido nti kati ambasada ayagala kugenda e Denmark era alwana okutambuza sisitimu y'abamafia e Denmark ali ready bamufrontinze bamugambye wetegeke emikugu yagisibye covid-19 certificate agirida immunization card agirida alirode kugenda Denmark katono ambassador bambe bamukuba yalowooza ati genuine waliwo naye abalabe aba government ya President Museveni era aba President Museveni tebali bweru si opposition problem eriwo yeno ndi abantu baffe tebakera kumakya kuzukuka ndi bakumuntu akwata essimu nakuba nawandika na recording a voice note najisa ku internet not because of anything but because they want to discourage. And I'm so grateful for President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for standing as an individual standing as an individual to say no to say this is my take kyovandi mu public musaliro omuntu omusanga ate President Museveni amuddawo umanyi lwaki nti alina ate tiimu endala enoonyereza era emmanya ekiriwo naye akimanyi nti bamafia mwebali era boogerako kawukuma mwogerako
Munnayuganda ndibadde yeebuuza ekibuuzo kyekimu
tumuvuunulire kati
twogera ku bamafias ate nga bali infiltrating the State House ekibuuzo kyebuuzibwa President abamanyi oba tabamanyi
nedda tibali mu State House.
They are all over.
No, they are not in State House. I don't want to bring an institution of State House as a structure State House. It is very difficult to penetrate State House. It's the last office on the ground. It's where the fountain of order sits. So you can't infiltrate State House. That I can put that on record.
You mean they can operate?
No, they cannot. Yes, because the State House is not the only influence. Influence etandikira eno. Bebagenda okufumba wagula eri bitandikira eno wansi. Kati ba mafia bo kye bakola amaanyi bagamalira eno wansi. Mwa abantu musobole okuvuunula kubanga State House teyino wansi government emikono gino gya government giri wansi. So what do they do? Batandika kwonoona wansi State House ereme kubanga eveeyo ng'etunula nti mbi kyovula nti nze nwanira ate President Museveni
abamanyi oba tabamanyi
tabamanyi singa abamanyi President Museveni n'obusungu bwalina kati kuba mafia n'ababbi singa abajjawo kumanyi n'amatono amagezi genina era gemanyi ku President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni gwendabidde emyaka 32. I promise you he would get them and he would throw them out in the prison. And I can put this on record without fear or without contradiction. He is tired of corruption. He is tired of institutions that are killing. What we against passing out? Nagandi waliwo corruption mu police. Kakati eyo bwakyogererako ng'omanya nti ye kasita ayogera nga system zitandika. Kati waliwo system zayingire kati police wetwogerera nti waliwo system zayingirewo. Anyhow nga tugenda okudda mu kaseera akaddako akanyomera akaddako bino bintu byenjagala okwogerako tugenda kwogerako mu dakiika nga 2 tugenda kwogerako ku kigambo kye bayita weekend nga tuvudde eyo nti weekend y'abantu eno ey'okusaba egenda kubeera etya. How are we going to work? How is it going to be? Katukomewo.
Abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omu ku treason. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of witchcraft in the malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda bubujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twegitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza natusanatayizi bamutadde buteresi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesinze kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Everybody, it's a high time we have to get out of this place, guys. We have to leave and go and have a cup of tea, go and enjoy yourselves.
Definitely. My weekend is going to start early, Dr. Mondo. Today we are celebrating Kemi Anju's birthday party, one of our own. So we'll be having the cake cutting and all that. So whoever wants to come, you're welcome. We'll start the weekend early with music and cake and everything else.
What is the time?
The time I'm not going to say on TV.
Are you going to invite the public?
I don't want too many people to come.
It's going to be scientific one or what?
And besides COVID-19, we have to have social distancing. Very few people in sport, so we have to make sure that we keep the time.
That's going to be your weekend.
I'm going to go farming. And,
this weekend?
Yes, this weekend.
Impressive.
And I'm traveling tonight. And then I will have to spend time with my family as well.
All right. Good. What do you think about tomorrow? We're going to have a prayer day. The president has decided of the Republic of Uganda that tomorrow is going to be National Prayer Day. What do you think that will be the impact?
I think I was sharing with Latifah. I was saying that it was long overdue. It's one of the ideas I thought about quite a number of years ago. That the fact that our forefathers granted this nation before the hands of God. You just spoke about the motto,
God
yes,
and my country.
For God and my country, and then our national anthem also starts with, "O Uganda, may God uphold thee." That means, as a nation, we can do nothing if we don't put our country before God.
All right.
Personally, I think this will be a great impact for a lot of people. Muslims, Christians, we've all been home for a very long time without going for prayers. So this particular station where we have the whole nation getting together to pray would be a turning stone for us and a moment for us to pray and talk to God about very many things.
True.
COVID, poverty, corruption, and everything that else that the country
If I
is
give you a
going
helicopter
through.
to fly from here, which part of country will you go to?
Which part of this country?
You will go to?
I think I'd go to Fort Portal. Fort Portal gives me peace. It seems like a cocoon away from the craziness of the main city. And at a time like this, especially when there's COVID-19, you want to go to a place where you have peace and you're with nature and the sound and the rain and the water.
I want to record what she just said.
I love
a few years ago, I went to Fort Portal,
Yes.
and I got a feeling. You know, when you want to express the realities about Kampala, ogenda Nakasero, bowulira nti Kampala is good. So when you go to Fort Portal, it's the replica of Nakasero. That's how good the place is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to come and say, do people care real about prayer?
People do.
Who doesn't? Faith is the strongest thing that anyone can have. You, me, Chris.
Your last word
faith
for
is
today,
amazing.
on this weekend.
But the last word I would want Ugandans to know is that let's put God first in whatever we do, because he doesn't disappoint either.
Well, as we're putting God first, I want Ugandans to remember that in this COVID-19 situation, God comes first, but putting on your mask, making sure that you have your sanitizer, and making sure that you don't go to crowded places is one of the ways you protect yourself, protect our doctors, protect our nation. And I'd like to say thank you to JB for dressing me as we're leaving the studios. You want to get in touch with him, his number is 0758 597 322, 0758 597 322.
Well, we've worked with an amazing team. We've worked with Dondi Drone and Mansul on camera. We have also worked with Husna Afeit and Adams Mayambala as our senior producers, as well as Jeff and Roberts in the control room. Meanwhile, my name is Simon Chris Makanga, and may the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you, not until we meet Monday for yet another edition of The Fashion. But for now, I am not around.
That is his last remarks always, you know, with this guy called Chris Makanga, when he says, for now, I'm not available. But I want to say this. I want you to check out your stocks if you still remember, because some of you, mwena sigare mwagera mu COVID ne mbera locked up. Katenja ku locking out ebintu ebimu. Katwalwa kayima kata who cares? Njagala bakampe as we say bye bye.
Okay.
Sure.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Absolutely nobody cares.
Everybody cares.
Who cares?
Everybody cares.
abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu ku treason. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza na tusanitize bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Turn up the vibe and turn the volume up. Zinebachali twagala kunyumirwa. Oh, turn up the vibe and don't be a puta eating zenechi baby twaze tukubidwa. Oh na na na, oh na 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 na. Tuli wano ku STV. Oh na na na. Yo wagwan people, it's your boy YK Benda the boss. Tenda fast na yaviga. Bumziki tenda benda straight on STV. Keep it locked. Ovako boom.
Need to stay with you, but we actually never would day. You have to sit. I won't say much about that. What like you mining in Jenchulam, the personal and train, then landing home.
Don't miss the free pass every Saturday on STV as we get the exclusive access.
Wanini kimpigia kusudi zake na kipokea eti